Joe, how are you, my friend?
Well, I'm well, and I see that you're doing well as well. And
Thank you.
now I know we've only got a little bit of time, so we can't be too social and sociable about this. But let me start off by doing the right thing and saying thank you for thinking about doing a year-end or end of quarter interview with Corriere Canadese. As you know, we are the only Italian language daily hard copy and digital newspaper outside of Europe and Italy. So
Amazing.
so we got a great reach. A lot of people don't think about that, when they say, well, it's just an Italian language paper. But as you know, there's about 1.5 million Italians around the country. Not all of them speak and read Italian, but the number that do is huge. Now, and you know they're
Exactly.
very interested politically. So that's why I have to thank you on their behalf. And
Thank you.
I know you want to make some statements, and you'd want to, but can I start off by just saying, look, we've only got 10 minutes and
Yeah.
got about 4 or 5 items that we talked about with your staff. And if you want to go beyond that, it's up to you. But let's have a conversation rather than a question and answer. How's that?
Sounds good.
All right.
Absolutely, Joe.
So,
Thanks very much. Can I call you by your first name and
of
likewise call me
course,
Pierre?
of
Okay, let's
course.
do that.
All right. So,
Excellent.
from my perspective, and I've been around a little bit, most people are thinking about what are the man's 5 priorities or three
Yeah.
priorities. If he's got more or he's got less than three, can't be serious. Now,
Yeah.
because that's unrealistic. Now, the ones that I've come up with, and I think you might share them. If you don't, introduce your own. Canadians are absolutely flabbergasted at the cost of groceries. They're looking for solutions. They're obviously upset about the increased violence and disrespect for the law. We see that here in the Toronto area every day, every day. They're absolutely baffled by the cost of housing and rent, by the construction of housing. And as you know, many of the people in the Italian Canadian community, especially in Southern Ontario and elsewhere, they're big in the construction business. So they know about housing more than most other people do. And, it's the other thing that we're looking for is somebody who comes up with a solution for the kinds of essential services that everybody needs at one time or another in their life, but especially as you get older. And it's nursing care, medical care, and other type of care. And then, I guess virtually anything else that you want to talk about. But if I got that more or less in there,
I
without
think
any
so. Yeah.
disrespect to foreign affairs and global issues.
I think you nailed it, Joe.
So why
Absolutely.
don't we start with the first one? Let's go with housing. Where are we going to live tomorrow? And why does it cost so much?
Well, the first thing, so by the way, is this for, are you going to publish the video or the just in print, just so I know how to modulate my presentation?
Do it any way you like. What we're going to do is we're going to take from this, we're going to present something in hard copy. We won't do it
Okay.
tomorrow. We'd have to do it the day after. What we'd
So
like to do is we like to post
the
whatever
video.
we do on our digital site.
Perfect. Okay,
So
great.
I'll go with some of your staff on that afterwards.
Excellent. Thanks a lot. So look, Joe, the problem is twofold. The principal and the interest on mortgage make up the cost, as you know. So what's driving that? One, these monster deficits the government runs drive up inflation and interest rates, and that makes your mortgage payment bigger. We've got to cap spending and cut waste to balance the budget and bring down inflation and interest rates, as you did when you were in government. Second thing is that we have the fewest homes per capita of any country in the G7, even though we have the most land to build on. And that has led to Canada having the worst housing bubble, arguably in the entire OECD. Toronto is the worst housing market in the world, according to UBS Bank. Vancouver is the third worst when you compare median income to median house price. And you can now buy a home. You can buy a castle in Scotland for a lower price than a 2-bedroom in Kitchener. So this is the record of Trudeau after 8 years of doubling housing costs. So how do we get more homes built? Well, the obstacle is getting the damn permits. It's the slowest permitting, with the second slowest permitting in the OECD. That adds 1.3 million to the cost of every newly built house in Vancouver. Toronto and GTA and Southern Ontario municipalities have raised development charges by 900%. Montreal has blocked 25,000 homes in the last 3 years. Winnipeg just blocked 2,000 homes next to a transit station that was built for those homes because the city councilor said his constituents didn't want neighbors. So we've got to get the bureaucracy out of the way. So here's my common sense plan. I'm going to require that cities permit 15% more home completions per year as a condition of getting federal funding. And that they permit high density sky rises around every future federally funded transit station. I'm going to sell off 6,000 federal buildings and thousands of acres of federal land to build. I'll require CMHC approve financing for apartments in 2 months rather than 2 years. So that's how we're going to accelerate the construction. We have the land, the labor, the lumber. We just need to get the government out of the way so that we can bring it home.
Well, you sound confident that the provinces and the municipalities that have great carriage over all of this are going to comply and are going to be attracted by the incentives you put in place. Have you got anything that suggests that you're going to be successful in that regard?
These cities care more about money than anything else. Every time I meet with a mayor, they always say, I want money from the feds. And my answers to them is they get 5 billion now in recurring transfers directly from the feds to the cities. And I'm going to say this is going to be turned into a housing incentive. So you either hit my target of 15% or your municipality will get less money. If you exceed the target, you'll get a building bonus. In other words, I want to pay the local bureaucracies the way that realtors are paid. They're paid on commission. I want the bureaucracies to think about how they can speed up building so that they can get more federal money. And in instances where we get big gross acts of gatekeeping, I would actually hold back transfers for large projects. So if you want your transit line built, you've got to get out of the way and let housing go ahead. We have to take a tougher approach because right now they have no incentive. They still get the big fat check every month from the feds, regardless of how long they take. And that's why they'll never do it unless you link the outcome to the dollars.
Now, that's a great topic for a great conversation. And I hope you'll come back for maybe one topic at a time. But can I just turn our attention over to some what I call quality of life issues? People have to have a place to live, but they also have to be able to have access to affordable food. And they also have to have an opportunity to get to those people, those professionals who are going to give them an opportunity to be taken care of when they're in need. What's the plan for decreasing the prices on groceries? And now I'll make two comments and then you go from there. Like we've got a plan for Medley because we follow what they do as well. That's absolutely detailed and, one can argue against it, but it's there. And then of course, and I see that you've picked up on the fact that we have a huge shortage in health professionals for a G7 country. It's not a good picture. What are you going to do about it? Or about
All right, so let's start with food. Right now, we have this massive and growing carbon tax on the farmers who make the food and the truckers who ship it. I have one farmer alone in my riding who's paying $100,000 in carbon tax, expected to be quadrupled to $400,000 under the published Liberal environmental plan. I would axe the tax on both the farmer and the trucker that bring us the food to allow them to produce more affordable produce. We're also going to remove some of the unnecessary regulations on fertilizer use so that we can grow and produce more food on each square acre of land we have. That will allow more output. A bigger supply equals a more affordable price. So that's the main action on food, is to stop taxing the farmers and the truckers who bring us our food. On doctors, we have 20,000 immigrant doctors and 32,000 immigrant nurses banned from working because they have no direct path to prove their qualifications. You know, in the trades, for 70 years, we've had a Red Seal exam for mechanics, electricians, etc., but we have no such thing in the profession. So I'm proposing a Blue Seal exam for immigrant professionals to prove they're qualified and get to work within 60 days. And I'll back up 30,000 small study loans so that if someone needs time off work to study up to the Canadian standard, they have a few bucks in their pocket to pay their bills in the meantime. We got to get the immigrant doctors and nurses into their role in the system and allow Canadian kids who study abroad, whether it's in Ireland or the Caribbean or the States, to come home and, if necessary, take our exam, meet our test, get to work. And that's how we're going to increase the supply of doctors and nurses.
How are you going to get the professional bodies on side?
Well, I'm going to leverage federal healthcare and immigration dollars that the provinces have. The professional bodies have all their legal authority as a result of provincial legislation. So I'm going to say to the provinces, look, guys, you're getting a massive increase year after year in healthcare transfers, which you claim needs to go for more doctors. Well, here's where one way we can get more doctors who are already trained. You don't have to put them through med school. So sign on to a Blue Seal exam and legislate, if necessary, to get the medical licensing bodies to do the same. That's how we did it with the Red Seal. Remember, the provinces regulate the trades as well, but they all agreed to one common national standard run by the Red Seal Council of Canada that allows us to have a single license to be a carpenter anywhere in Canada. We've done that, Joe, for 70 years. How is it that we haven't been able to do the same in the professions? It's crazy. So I'm going to use federal money as a lever, I'll be honest. And I'm going to ensure that provinces do sign on.
Well, the important thing is that at least you're thinking about it. Maybe at another time we can go deep dive into it. But with the next minute or two that we have left, I wonder if you can turn your attention for a moment on what seems to be a really critical issue. I hate to use the word emergency, et cetera, but it is an emergency matter. The increase in drug dependency amongst people, youth and others, especially in certain sectors of Canada and in the cities. What do you propose to do about something like that?
Treatment and recovery. We've lost over 30,000 people in the last 8 years to overdoses, and the policy of the government has been to decriminalize crack and heroin and other hard drugs. That has only made the problem worse. They're now giving out tax-funded opioids that are as strong as heroin. They claim it's safe, but at these safe sites, what we see is huge crime. We saw a middle-aged mother near Toronto shot dead by a stray bullet near one safe consumption site. Around the downtown east side of Vancouver, it is likewise filled with all these so-called safe consumption sites, and yet we have 6 people, British Columbians, dying a day of overdoses. So my common sense plan reverses decriminalization and handouts of drugs and instead invests in recovery and treatment so that we can give people detox, counseling, fitness and yoga programs, sweat lodges for First Nations, group therapy, and then graduate them into a transitional apartment nearby where they can come back a few times a week for counseling and a workout, maybe even mentor incoming addicts. That approach has worked where it has been tried, and I'm going to put the money into that. And I'm also going to sue the drug companies because they were the ones that started this thing. They flooded North America with OxyContin, saying it was a harmless painkiller, and instead it was a lethal and highly addictive drug that ultimately gave us the crisis we have today. The Americans have recovered $54 billion from these companies. I want to recover billions here in Canada, and I put that money towards treatment to bring our loved ones home drug-free.
Okay, here, Mr. Poilievre, I know that you gave us a particular amount of time, and your staff is signaling that we've exceeded that. So, but thank you for
Thank
that.
you.
As long as you promise that we're going to have another discussion down the road,
I'd
you're
like
quite
that.
welcome to come here to our office, and you can.
Where's your office?
Well, we're down at down around Yorkdale. Do you know where that is in Toronto? We're
Yes.
just around the corner in an industrial sector, and got a nice little office. You'll come there, you'll feel comfortable, and you'll be relaxed enough to hit the topics as you like.
Absolutely. Let's do that. But in
Okay,
the meantime, I want to wish you a great holiday and a buon Natale.
marvelous. Buon Natale anche a lei e buon anno nuovo. Alla prossima. Grazie. Thank you very
Grazie.
much.
Grazie. There you go.
Take
Okay.
care.
Thanks, Joe. Take care, my friend.
Bye-bye.
Bye now.
Very much.